So we are here today at the Neverwinter booth, and we have one of the lovely producers on the game.
Yeah, my name is Mark Hill. I'm the senior producer.
So we were just talking a little bit about how you're trying to keep the balance between the tabletop feel and the MMO feel for Neverwinter. How have you guys been working on that?
Well, it's all in the gameplay, right? So if you've seen it, you've seen that it's the action style gameplay. We make the we made the UI very accessible. We made access to your skills and everything very intuitive, but still trying to maintain that real Dungeons and Dragons feel that fans of of the tabletop, fans have been playing it for years and years and years. They'll be familiar and comfortable with it. But people that aren't, people that have never done it before, people that just want to check it out as an MMO, they'll also get in. They'll know what's going on right away, and they'll feel comfortable in the game. So it's a difficult balance because the people that played the tabletop style back in the day, they're really, really hardcore and they're into it and they're really devout fans, which is great. So it's tough, but I think we're doing it in terms of gameplay, we're doing it in terms of accessibility, but still maintaining that Dungeons and Dragons universe and feel to it.
So is it going to be kind of more of a dungeon crawly kind of a feel, or is it going to have kind of like the typical MMO kind of, big giant raid bosses, and there's also dungeons and grouping and that kind of utility to it. I guess basically, how are you balancing the typical Dungeons and Dragons crawler versus the MMO kind of instance party kind of a feel? Great
question. So we have a little bit of both in there. So it's the big fully featured MMO. So there's the guilds, the party system, everything you would expect from the big MMO, and there's still the dungeon crawling aspects to it. There's still dungeons that you go in. There's a boss at the end. You drop the best loot, the best gear, things like that. So it's similar to the question before about how do you balance it between the classic tabletop people that are familiar with that style, the dungeon crawling style, and the new action MMO wanting people. So trying to provide that content for both of them at a very high quality. It's difficult, but we've seen the feedback. We're always getting feedback from the players. We're running betas right now, and it's been good so far. The feedback's been great. We're always taking into account, always updating, making changes to the game. So when the final product comes out, I think there'll be enough for everybody in there.
Are you guys going to have a kind of like PvP section of the game as well to kind of, I know that PvP isn't really a massive part of Dungeons & Dragons, but I know most modern MMOs do that.
Right, we absolutely have PvP, and actually we have Beta Weekend 3 going on right now at the time of recording. It's going to launch in a couple hours, and it's our, so the first time that everyone will be able to get their hands on with PvP. So it's 5v5, and it's sort of a domination style, so you control points, and you control points on the map, and you obtain points, and the first person to the end, or the first team to the end wins. So you're totally right that PvP isn't huge in the tabletop community, but action MMO is kind of something that players expect, something that we definitely wanted to get in there and that we worked on for a long time. So we think everyone will appreciate it.
Loot-wise, are you guys doing kind of the traditional MMO, bind on equip, and then there's tiers, green, blue, purple, etc.?
Yes, definitely. So there'll be many, many different levels of loot. Dungeons & Dragons is all about the loots. Oh, yeah. All about the loots. And that's one of the main things that we've taken into this game. It's about killing monsters, taking their loot, constantly progressing yourself, your character, your guild, and so yes, you pretty much hit it on the head with that.
Are you doing big kind of monsters where you need a giant party of 20 plus people in order to get in there and kind of take them out, like world monsters basically?
Kind of raid content?
Yeah.
Talking about. So we do. Right now, there's in the beta as it is right now, there's not a lot of that in there. It's more of the standard style bosses that you would go either solo or with a party or something like that. But the big raid style thing is something that people expect, and we'll be getting it in there.
What kind of crafting do you have in the game at this point, if anything?
We do have it, but we haven't talked a lot about it yet. That will be we'll be releasing more information in that actual gameplay shortly in the future. But it's gonna be pretty sweet. I think people like it.
I know there's been a couple of folks that kind of do this some of them do it jokingly, some of them do it seriously. Is there actually a way in the game to kind of either level up solely PvP or solely PvE and basically never doing the other half?
So we're not forcing people into PvP. That's what you're saying. Most people don't like that, especially D&D people. They don't want. Like you said earlier, it's not a traditional thing, so a lot of people don't want to do it. So we're not forcing people into PvP. There's no PvP-specific gear that you can only get through PvP. So leveling up, things like that, go mostly through the PvE, the questing, the dungeoning content.
Are you doing any kind of bonuses for being inside of a guild, like perks, bigger guild banks, housing, things along those lines?
We have a lot of plans with guilds coming up that, and again, I hate to sort of deflect.
No, it's all right. I understand.
Yeah,
especially when you're in beta.
But guilds are going to be a huge part of the game. We recognize how important they are to the community and to the players. So yes, we'll be having a bunch of guild content. Things like that will definitely be part of it.
Are you in the process of kind of putting in, I know matchmaking is very big with PvP, but it's also kind of useful to have some kind of ability to easily find a party. You know, I might play when she plays or when he plays, kind of a thing. So you have kind of a group making system?
We do. We have a good partying system. It'll make it really easy for people to jump in and out of parties. And of course, like we mentioned a few times, the guilds, people can hop in with their guild, or people just in the social hubs, in the social areas of the world, they'll be able to find people very quickly, party up with them, hit a dungeon, hit some monsters and go.
I know typically you have small towns here and there, and then there's one hub city. Is there one central kind of a meeting point inside of the game?
Not necessarily. No, it's more of a collection of a bunch of multiple different areas, all very distinct, all very unique. And that's sort of where the players congregate, and then there will be dungeons going off from there. There is the town of Neverwinter, right? So that's probably the main one that I would say that most people hang out in. It's where most of the sort of social action happens.
This one always seems to come up pretty quickly. Level cap?
Level cap for the open beta hasn't been announced yet. For the closed beta 3, it is at level 50. Which does not equate to tabletop levels.
Yeah, basically that's typically what I get asked is how does the tabletop's leveling system kind of equate to the MMO system? Is it leaning more one direction or the other?
More MMO style. I would estimate that about probably every 6 in-game levels would be a tabletop level. It's really hard to equate that though. Really, really difficult. But yeah, definitely more MMO style leveling.
So for folks that are more traditional D&D purists, I guess, what classes have made it from one end to the other for people who may not have heard about the game yet?
So we have 5 classes right now. We have the Devoted Cleric, Control Wizard, Guardian Fighter, Great Weapon Fighter, and the Trickster Rogue. So those are the 5 main classes right now, and of course there's all the associated skills with that, the daily skills, the traditional powers. So those are the 5 that we have right now.
Are you planning on doing, I know a lot of games have kind of segregated out abilities into trees. As you level up, you get different abilities, and you can be, a holy healer or an evil wizard kind of a thing, or kind of basically go different skill branches down things. Are you planning on doing that with the game?
So we do have sort of skill trees that you unlock as you progress through, and you can equip different skills, different daily powers, and things like that. So short answer is yes. As you progress, you'll open up more options, you'll get more skills, you'll be able to spec out your guy a little more specifically how you want. So if you want to be pure healer, if you want to be pure melee damage, pure magic damage, you'll be able to spec them out to your specifications.
I'm guessing, given that the Holy Trinity kind of started with D&D, that's part of the game to a certain extent with how you can spec things out.
Definitely, and that's one of the things that we talked about at the beginning is finding that balance between the traditional tabletop players and the MMO players, and finding the balance, giving them both the high quality content that they both expect, so they both enjoy the game. So that's one of the aspects of it.
Are you pulling any stories that people might remember from the pre-made D&D modules into Neverwinter?
I personally can't answer that. So we do have, our content. You're familiar with R.A. Salvatore, right?
Yep.
So our content is all signed up by him. A lot of it comes from him, But as far as old storylines that come over, I can't really answer that right now, unfortunately.
To be honest with you, I'm not sure I could answer that. So.
Good.
So with the open beta coming relatively soon, I'm presuming you guys are launching at some point this year?
I can't even say that. We'll be announcing that soon, and all the details will come out